Can you see my head in the? Am I good? Is it cutting me off?
It's close.
Does it need to go like this right here? You ready? Watch.
I feel like that's it.
Is that the shot?
I feel like it is. I mean,
I don't know. You tell me. Whoa, there's a lot of bass in
a
here.
lot of bass in your voice.
There was a lot of bass.
Dang.
I mean, if you're judging, it just turned off. So
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
it looks pretty good. Brett's is still on.
There's
though.
a lot of bass in everybody's voice.
Yeah, I feel like
your kid's been in here messing with us the ones and twos.
I feel like Barry White.
Today on the podcast.
Tonight.
Is that better? No, it's not.
Is that a setting on the headphones?
I really don't care that much.
I don't really. It's not bothering me.
Everything is in the way of me looking at Chris.
It's like a distinguished gentleman voice.
It's just going to be if I want to talk to you.
Just
I got to lean a little bit.
lean.
Scoot over?
No, I'm fine. I'm
Okay.
okay with not looking at Chris. I think that's
Boom.
that's part of the fun of this podcast.
That's your water.
Why was it over by you?
Because you have a tendency to like to drink my water, so I put mine.
He licked the rim.
That's
Put
one
it here.
time.
Yeah.
One time.
Happened
at
one
Bangor.
time.
I feel like
Now I see how you know the time on the thing. It's got an actual timer on it.
on the camera.
On this one.
Oh, on the GoPro. Yeah.
We're not used to seeing that kind of stuff.
Y'all can't see it.
No, not normally.
I've got a weird click going on in my situation.
Again?
It's a whole thing.
I just wish we had things that worked.
Okay, so how are y'all doing this week? I know I've talked to you all day today, but nobody else knows that. So
From the ride over, I feel pretty good.
yeah, how have you done in the last hour?
Yeah. that's
Chris,
pretty-
everything good with you?
Pretty good. Feel pretty full. Had a lot of tacos today, taco meat, but it was a good day. I told Brett days like this is you kind of need days like this I need them for my soul. I don't know, just makes the week just start out right.
Yeah, it set you on a good tone, right?
Absolutely.
Kinda get
I felt pretty proud today that I kept my streak alive of not trying anything pumpkin.
Yeah,
So it was so
you
good.
did. I noticed that.
I was like, I'm not doing it.
he ain't doing it.
I kind of wanted you to try it.
I can't do it.
Did you eat it, Leaman?
I had one bite
Did
of
you?
one small
How
slice.
was it?
Yeah, she guilted me. Aloof but effective.
Aloof.
It's the word of the day.
I don't know what
Nice.
aloof means,
I
but I
like it.
heard that somewhere one time,
I like it.
and I'm gonna Google it now. No, I'm actually surprised that you didn't try it because your entire family tried it
Did they?
and liked it. At least all the kids.
Hey, the pie's gone.
I knew the kids would like it.
Yeah, the pie was gone real
The boys
quick.
will eat anything.
Do you guys know how to spell aloof?
A-L oof.
Oh,
Is that like off with two O's
I think so.
I put
and one F?
aloof. ALOOF.
Yeah.
Aloof means not friendly or forthcoming, cool and distant.
I was very distant from
Very
the pumpkin.
He
the,
was.
The pie was aloof.
Oh,
Oh,
It was not very forthcoming.
it was not.
it was
yeah.
distant from his mouth.
Lindsay loves pumpkin pie, and
Yeah.
so she always makes pumpkin pie, and I never eat it. And I think this was her attempt. If I sneak cheesecake in there,
Right? I'm gonna
maybe he'll take a
Yeah.
bite. Yeah. And she even mixed it. It wasn't even full pumpkin on the top.
Yeah.
Even the top was mixed with cheesecake.
I think if I mix enough cream cheese or something with it, I could probably, choke it down.
You just wouldn't even know.
And I say choke it down, I don't even know the taste, but I figured I'd have to choke it down.
I feel like she bought 5 bars of cream cheese. I think I heard that today.
I
And I
looked
just
in the-
called her out again, so
Oh,
that's twice in 5 episodes.
Yeah, I guess so for cheesecake, right?
Yeah.
I looked in the fridge and I was like, Lindsay, what? Did you go to the store and not look at what we had in the house and just buy what you thought we needed?
BOGO.
Because she's done that in the past. She bought 3 bags. No, she bought 2 bags of tortilla chips, and we already had 5. And there were 3 in one cabinet and 2 in the other. And she was like, I didn't know we had all those. So
Shirley and I just did a day the other day where I went to, she's like, can you grab this one thing? I went in and I just basically did a whole run of grocery shopping. She did the same thing. We both got to the house.
y'all doubled up.
We have extra green beans, asparagus, all the things. They're like, oh boy, we got to get to eating.
Y'all got to make that phone call. Communication. Also, this week's message is on communication.
Golly, good. It's like we set this up.
Yeah.
No, it's actually not. That's fine.
Intro.
It's really not on
And
communication.
actually,
No, I wanted to build off. So, first of all, episode 5. We're officially
ManCast.
we're
Pretty
officially beyond all the other ManCast
Yeah.
podcasts.
to all
that
you
are
haters
there.
out there,
Yeah.
Said
you didn't
wouldn't
think we would
it.
make it,
Yeah.
but we did.
We did. We're killing it.
Booyah.
We're busting stereotypes that man can't finish anything. Who said we couldn't finish? This may be the last episode.
No one.
Call it done.
I enjoy this.
So, last week we had Aaron Knight on here. It was an awesome podcast. It also went incredibly long. It went probably way longer than it should have. But when the man was talking about some of the things he was talking about, it was like I was kind of captivated, and you almost can't look away.
Yeah.
You know, I kept looking at the camera going, oh, my gosh, we got to stop him here soon.
Yeah. No matter how many times I hear that story, I still learn something new from it. It's something you can take away.
And you're like a kid, like on the edge of your seat, just like,
Yeah.
what happens next?
Yeah, he's an unbelievable speaker, right? He keeps you engaged, and
Yeah.
he does.
He did good. And it's such a great story, too. I mean, it's not like he's not embellishing, right? He's not.
Sure.
It's not like he's just such a good speaker that he's making the story sound great. It is a great story.
And he's a humble man anyway. So it's hard to get him to embellish on anything.
Yeah.
If you had to.
Well, I think that's the beauty of the podcast, right? It gets you into kind of a comfortable environment where you feel like you can just relax and kind of talk.
Mm-hmm.
So as opposed to, what he's used to being on a stage. Hey, Chris.
Hey, it's good to see you, man.
I'm seeing you because I can see you in the camera.
I felt bad for cutting him off. I mean, I wanted him to be able to speak and have ample time. I didn't want him to be rushed at all. So, but he did a good job. But I was just like that 5 minutes of
at some point.
five times.
Like not everybody has that long of a car ride.
No.
Right.
But anyway, so this week I wanted to kind of because Chris brought up the topic last week of testimonies, right? And so Aaron obviously has an incredible testimony, and we heard it last week, or at least portions of it. I mean, there's other parts of it that are just as crazy that we didn't dive into at all, and we'll get into that probably another time when you have him on. But I wanted to kind of elaborate on the testimonies because I think the first thing I told you when you said testimonies, I was like, that's not going to fit in a 30-minute podcast.
No, not at all.
Especially if we have more than one person.
That's right.
And so I kind of I thought it would be cool to maybe not necessarily a full testimony, but like I think, Chris, your question to Aaron about like what was that pivotal moment? What would you feel like was a pivotal moment that kind of changed your life, or kind of I forget how you worded it. Do you remember?
Not right offhand.
It was something like that.
If I could
though,
dig
right?
my wallet out of my back pocket, I probably have that question there.
Yeah, it was something like. Anyway, it was basically like a moment that
the thing started to shift, or you saw.
Yeah,
you
like
knew
a pivot.
It was changing. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just sit here and be quiet and wait for you.
Take your time.
Cameraman, put the camera on, Chris.
Being on this side of it's like I'm in a whole new place. I can see Chris, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, we stepped this. Oh, he's got it.
This guy never throws anything.
It's probably
away.
laminated, if I had to guess.
Tell of an important event which shaped and or strengthened your faith. That was my first question.
No. I'm talking about the pivotal one.
Let's see. Who has changed your life? What has God
Maybe there
been?
wasn't one.
I think that was a question.
I think he may have bounced off.
You think that was a follow-up maybe that you had?
It may have been because I only have 5.
Then guess what? Today's question is, let's talk about a pivotal moment, I think, that changed your life. And it doesn't have to be necessarily like your faith walk or anything like that. Just in general, like a part of your life where you were like, this is a moment where something either needs to change or where you realize that something has changed, something like that. So feel free to think about it.
Rated PG, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can, it's let's say PG-13.
Okay.
Are we good with PG-13, Chris?
Yeah. I mean, mine's right. I already know mine, but if y'all want to elaborate,
let's go. Go.
I think it's mine was when my mom passed away 8 years ago. So you just spent so much time, I always knew in the back of my mind, that I was a follower of Christ, but you didn't have that obedience or you didn't act on that. So you're like, I can, keep doing the things I want because I have plenty of time here on earth.
Yeah.
But when she passed away, it was one of those things where God was saying, hey, how are you going to use this to glorify me? You can either continuous in your sinful nature and not being obedient to me, or you can use what happened negatively to you and make a positive change in your life.
Were you a church goer? Were you a follower before?
I would say no. I mean, I visited some churches.
Yeah.
We did the Sunday school thing. My aunt. Growing up. But we just didn't. It's not something we practiced in our home.
Had you been saved before that? I guess when I say saved, like some people, yeah, I was technically saved, or
That's
like
right.
the guy today, like when I was a kid, I got saved.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
Actually,
were you at that
my
kind of place?
senior year of high school, I got saved at Newland. Am I allowed to name drop churches?
You can if you want, but
I mean, the church that you used to go to on 280.
Sure,
How
yeah,
about that?
yeah,
So there was a deal that me and the girl I was dating at the time in high school, I mean, it was probably an emotional experience. I don't know, but you, air quote, get
Yeah.
saved on a Friday night. I mean, you could have
like
went
a
out.
youth retreat with your
Yeah,
with your
something like
bestie
that.
girl. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of my story.
All the cool kids were doing it.
Yeah, they were. And when you buy a house young and you're a little, I'm not going to say late to the party, but you kind of feel like you didn't do the things that most people did in high school, so you're a late bloomer, say that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of when everything started for me, is when I bought my house, and you just kind of
Yeah.
What do you mean everything started?
drugs and doing stupid stuff. and
Okay.
all
So
that kind of
your
craziness.
partying years were later than
Yeah.
most people's.
Yeah,
because
because I didn't ever wanted to upset my father, so
Okay.
it was like a respect thing. And then I felt like if I wasn't under his roof or wasn't seeing him on the weekends, that, those things that he would never know about,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, were you really close to your mom?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
She was in bad health for a lot of her life, and I tried to help her out where I could.
Right.
So I don't know. I try to
So-
not really suppress that, but
Yeah.
So what?
This is therapy, by the way, at this point.
Yeah.
it is.
What moment? So you said you had like that moment. At what moment? Why? I guess at your mom passing, what clicked? Like, what is the?
I was gonna say the same thing. Like, what changed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was just running from the Lord. I mean, it wasn't
Did you see your mom's passing as, oh man, maybe I could pass it any day. I need to get
yeah,
right. Or,
yeah, I would agree with that statement.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like it
that
brought
I
it
just
close to
needed-
home.
Yeah, it just was like, wow, because it was a Friday that I went to the hospital and she was just in for like a routine checkup. And my brother calls me the next morning and I go back to the hospital and there are 7 people around her, putting a tracheotomy in her throat,
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
like, this ain't good,
Right.
you need to do something about this,
Yeah. It kind of shows you how quickly, or how fragile life is. How quick things can like flip
Sure.
upside down and change.
Absolutely.
Right.
I like what you say about. You say it a few times. You say it sometimes about. I could either sit here and wallow in it. You can finish it, but you say it. You say it a lot, and you it's like a pretty profound statement.
Yeah, I don't, because, me being what I do for work, it's very, very hard for me. Like, you can find different ways to let the devil take over your brain, you
Yeah,
know.
Sure.
Like,
A lot of solace. Right.
yeah. So
Is that the right
it's-
word? Like silent confinement.
Well, it's
almost.
idle minds is the devil's workshop, So I was talking to Brett before the podcast, and I'm like, he was, talking about baseball and stuff like that, and I feel like the busier we stay, the better off we are to pick up a phone and look at something that we're not supposed to. But I just wanted to try to be as beneficial as I could with the life that I had left to live.
Yeah.
Glorifying Christ instead of going into a depressive state and crawling in a hole somewhere.
Yeah,
Sure.
which is easy to do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So your change that came from that was perspective on time, or making the most out of what you were gifted with, or like what?
I feel like it because I feel like I've been put in a role where I can go out in my job and meet different people, and I'm like, why don't you use this platform to bring people to Christ?
Sure, and we talked about that the other day. You sent a text message about a guy that you ran into on a whim that you knew, and you don't have to name drop, but tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah,
incident.
so
That was
I'm
such a
I'm turning
awesome-
into the office right there on in Hoover. Everybody knows that area. Hadn't seen the guy since middle school, and I'm bad with names, but I never forget faces. So he pulls up beside me in an expedition, and I look over at him, and he locks eyes with me. I lock eyes with him, and I knew exactly who he was. So I had just enough time to small talk and give him my phone number, and he calls me riding down the road to wherever he was going because I was
Like
right
a few minutes later?
Yeah, like
Okay.
literally, seconds later when I was pulling up at the office. So I talked to him for 10 or 15 minutes, and then,
Wasn't the conversation like you had that opportunity, right?
yes, I believe he was a believer. He was, but I never hesitate in trying to figure out in the first couple minutes of the conversation. I've got to insert that into the conversation just to see, even if it's somebody that you don't know, how they respond to it. So that's what I do when I'm in schools. You don't want to ever lose a customer over talking about Jesus, but I'm willing to do that.
You got to walk that line a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you talked to him on the phone, and
Mhm.
basically, what was the gist of the conversation?
So he had a wife going through a divorce, had some kids, and he, was real big into baseball, played baseball at Pelham, had a brother that played baseball at Pelham, and one of them deals, man. So
and then like later, you were able to talk to him about Christ.
I was.
And so a couple weeks later, like, he passed away.
He did.
And so that's the craziness about this is like you never know how important an opportunity is that you're given because you think, oh, I missed that one.
Yeah.
I'll get another one.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't get another one maybe.
You're right.
And so the fact that you were able to walk that out and act on your, what would you call that? On your, what you felt like was your...
It's almost like a Holy Spirit instinct or something.
Your instinct. That's a great word.
It's a good word.
Yeah, act on your instinct. And I remember in that moment you text us and you were like,
Yeah.
man, how awesome was this? I got to share God with somebody
Yeah.
today. And then you text us a couple weeks later and I'm like, man, he passed away. And
He
it was
did.
like, man, that was such a pivotal, I hate to use the word pivotal, but that was such a realization of the importance of acting on those instincts.
You planted a seed right there.
Yep. And so anyway, that was awesome, Chris. I like that. That was good perspective.
Awesome.
That was really good. I knew that your mom passed away, but I didn't know the details around it. And of course, I hadn't met you at that point.
Correct.
How old were you?
It's been 8 and some, so 36, 35, 36, 8 years ago.
Dang, he's old.
I know. I'm the old man of the group.
Golly.
Mm-hmm.
Father time.
Is AARP sending you stuff yet?
They do.
You sending stuff back?
I just take it to the office and shred it. Take it to the office and shred it. Like, I'm not ready for this.
Hey, eventually he's gonna start responding. Like, hey, tell me more about this.
That's
What's
right.
this?
Hey,
How do I get that fake hip?
Yeah, what do we get? How do we
I
get?
get a
signed
break
up
on
there?
a hotel bill,
Brett, do you have anything yet, or are you still kind of thinking? I can go mine if you
Yeah,
want.
let's go you. Let's see.
Okay, so my pivotal moment. I've got a few. I think my pivotal moment was more for me about a realization of growing up. I feel like I'm not a bad kid. I wasn't a bad kid. I'm still not a bad kid.
Right.
But I wasn't really a bad kid, and I didn't really have like a bad past or upbringing or anything like that. Like, I never did a drug. I've never smoked a cigarette. I've never been in a fight. Like, you'd think I was like a good kid, right?
Right.
But at the same time, like, we all have our struggles. We all have our battles. We all have our issues. And so mine was just a rough, rocky relationship with my stepmom.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, she's been my stepmom for ever since I was 6 years old. But at the same time, like, there was something in me that just I just couldn't click with her. I couldn't get it. We never had a good relationship. We always felt distant. Oh, dude, I can actually see you now.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But anyway, so that relationship, my mic is not where it needs to be. There you go. That relationship always brought struggle with me, and I just felt like we knew how to push each other's buttons.
Right.
We were good at it.
Mhm.
Like, the last word was a whole thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I get the last word. Fine. That better be fine. It is fine,
Yeah.
Like, we just go back and forth, and like it was just a constant power struggle. And I guess I always thought that, like, I always lived in the moment, and I never understood like maturity and growing and learning.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't learn anything. I didn't feel like I needed to change anything. I didn't feel like I needed to grow in any way. I felt like everybody in the world, if I had problems, it was because of the people around me, and I just needed to change my people,
Yeah.
right? Instead of, well, hey, maybe these are your problems,
Yeah.
and you need to work through them, And so we had it was a massive thing. We had I can't remember what happened. I skipped school. Something happened. There was a few times I skipped school and bad things happened to me. One, I got appendicitis and like came home from skipping school and walked in my front door and was like keeled over in pain. And my mom, I was out with my girlfriend at the time, and my stepmom was like, "You probably got an STD." Well, you know, I was like, "It hurts when I pee." You know?
That's exactly.
Like, yep.
I know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I ended up like keeled over in bed for a day, and I don't blame her. This is not her fault, right? I'm not saying I'm mad at her for this, but you know, she let me sit in it a little bit, you know, and,
Right.
I keeled over, and my dad brought me some Rolaids or Tums or something. I thought it was stomach acid. It was just horrible cramping.
Yeah.
Next morning, went to the emergency room because my dad was like, "We just need to go get you checked out." Well, they thought it was nothing, and so they dropped me off at the emergency room. They're gonna go get lunch.
Right. Figure this out.
Yeah, I think Denise, name drop. I think she actually came back in and stayed with me.
Yeah.
And but we had, you know, I got brother and sister, and so bringing a whole family into emergency room, hindsight, right? I
It's
probably would have done the
crazy.
same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I probably would have been like, "Look, we're gonna wait out in the car. We'll send a representative in."
Right. Yeah.
So she came in, and turns out I had appendicitis, and it ruptured, and like I almost died. It was a whole deal.
Oh wow.
I was in the recovery room for over a week, but that wasn't even the pivotal moment. This was another time I had skipped school, and I skipped school and came home. She caught me, and we had this big argument, and I think I like got mad, and there was a coffee table similar to this in our living room, and I like turned around and just shucked a candelabra, right? And it hit her in the leg.
Mm-hmm.
And I was walking away, walking to my room, and shucked it behind me.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know it hit her, but like to her, I threw that at her.
Right. Right. It was intentional.
It got real bad.
Yeah.
And did you lose your mic? It is not on.
You might have pulled the. Oh, there's no cord to it.
Did you
Sorry.
hit the batteries? You got dead batteries? What's the power bar say?
I got 1 bar.
1 bar. All right, we're going to get you some batteries. Hold on, we're going to pause this story for a second. Brett, you want to talk?
Sure. Fill in.
Hold on, I got batteries somewhere.
I felt like I saw some batteries, some blue and
I thought
gold
I saw
ones.
some up there on the deal. Yeah, this is going to be a tough one for me because I feel like I was always the Lord had to hit me with a bat a few times for me to understand. You know, he was like, "Man, you were so like stubborn. Like, can I just tell you what to do and you just listen, or what do you have to just keep doing it over and over again? You know."
Oh, quick draw here.
Man, it's
Got
like-
me back up and running.
Like a NASCAR.
Yeah,
tire
it's like a
change
pit
there.
crew.
Oh, man, I got headphones.
Get it, man. Get it.
All right, so like I was saying.
So was she really upset with you? Like she was like,
Oh, yeah.
why would
Throwing
you do
candle
this?
holders at her.
Well, and I didn't really, like, the goal was not, like, I was just frustrated. I think my thing is I was just frustrated, and I didn't know how to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like a lash, right? I lashed out. And so she's like, you know, go to your room, blah, 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 and this, you know, the whole last word thing, and we argued, and so that day, my dad comes home from work, and I think I was a senior. I was 18. It was probably 2 weeks before graduation. Like, I was about to be done with school. It was a whole deal, right? And so during that time, we had already been struggling and arguing and stuff, and so I think that my parents just had enough.
Yeah.
I think they were just done with me. And my dad came home from work. They had a talk, and he told me to come pack my stuff. And I didn't have a job. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a driver's license. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
I had nothing. Like, I was just didn't have anything. And live with my parents, you know, whatever. And I guess I didn't need anything. But
That's why I asked, why didn't you have any of those things?
I don't know, to be honest.
Okay.
I
You
never
just
got.
never felt the pressure to drive? Or,
No, I wanted to.
Okay.
Just never got taken to get my
Gotcha.
driver's license.
Gotcha. Okay.
I got my driver's license when I was almost 19 because my girlfriend at the time took me,
Wow.
and we drove her car and the
Okay.
loaners. Anyway, he told me, pack your stuff, and he said he didn't tell me what happened or what was happening, and he drove me to, if I remember the story correctly, he drove me to a motel, and I had some cash. Drove me to a motel, can't remember. And I had told me to go inside and see how much a room was, and I went inside, and I didn't have enough for a room there.
Mm-hmm.
And so he drove me to a different motel, and this motel, it was in Tampa, Florida. It was right beside a place called the 60-Watt Club. That's a great
Right.
great bar.
They
right?
sell light bulbs there.
60-Watt Club. Yeah, I think it was dimly lit is the whole MO right there.
Right.
And this was a motel, and he took my money and paid for 2 nights and said, "You're on your own."
Wow.
And that was a tough 2 nights. And the motel didn't have a deadbolt. It had a hole where a deadbolt would go, but it just had a doorknob.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember shoving a sock in the hole on the door where the deadbolt belonged.
Right.
And that was my security of thinking, okay, nobody can see in my room. I washed my clothes in the bathroom sink, and just let them dry. And it was a realization in my mind, okay, sometimes you got to change,
right,
because there's nobody. You're literally by yourself now.
Sure.
There's nobody that you can say, okay, I changed my environment, so it must get better now.
Right.
I literally just had my environment changed out from under me.
Yeah.
And it didn't fix anything. It made everything worse.
Right.
And that was a pivotal moment in my life where I was like, okay, nobody's going to do this for me.
Right.
If my life's going to get better, it's because I feel like I can hear myself changing. There we go. I was like, if my life's going to get better, it's going to be because I made my life better, not because somebody else facilitated my life getting better, because clearly
the change has to become in you.
It
has someone else.
Something I'm doing is
so
making
bad
all
for
this
it.
bad stuff happen.
Right.
Yeah. And so I turned that into another 5 or 6 years of bad stuff.
Right.
But that was my mindset changed, and I think once my mindset changed, it just took that long.
What was the mindset change?
I think most of it was.
Did you change the way you treat people? Did you change your attitude?
Well, I think there was a gratefulness that came of me.
Okay.
I think I became more understanding of like Chris said, the fragileness of your situation.
Yeah.
Right. And so there was also, most of it was determination. Most of it was, it gave me a lot of drive. It gave me a lot of willpower.
Yeah.
And perspective on it can be worse.
Right.
That was most of the change for me. But I always to this day say that was probably the most important thing that ever happened in my young adult life.
Yeah.
It was the pivotal moment where I was like, okay, this is your chance, Leaman.
How long did it take for you to talk to your father again?
Long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not as long as I wanted to, but I think because I had another couple years of things that happened to me where I needed parental support, that it, I had to, but I would say it was I definitely didn't want to talk to him for a long time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I tell people, I'm like, man, it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
That was my next question.
That's good.
Do you look at it now as
It's
obviously a pivotal, life-changing
Yeah.
moment, but a question that keeps ringing in my mind is, you had enough money for 2 days. Did you have a job? What was the next day like?
So I didn't have a job. I basically started calling all my friends. I mean, this is back when payphones were a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you could go to the gas station and use a payphone. And I think he paid for 2 days because I didn't have enough for a third day.
Yeah.
And I think I had some cash, probably $20-$30 maybe.
Right.
This was such a bad one. It
Got
was
you a little bit further back then.
it was like
today.
$50 for a night. This was a rundown motel.
Yeah, yeah.
$50 a night. It was super cheap. And I probably had $100-something to my name. And so I called friends, and of course, most of my friends at that age lived with their parents.
Yeah.
And that meant you weren't living with them.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? They're not going to be like, yeah, come over here.
Parents are like, yeah, come on in.
No, it just wasn't going to happen. And so I actually had a friend that was going through a similar issue with his parents, and he didn't get kicked out. He was like, I'm gone. And he had an apartment, was looking for a roommate, and I didn't have a job, and I didn't have a car, I didn't have money, and I said, if you'll let me move in, we'll figure this out.
Yeah.
And he let me move in with him, and I had to get life quick. And I didn't have a car for a long time.
Right.
And even with the driver's license, I didn't have money.
Sure.
I got my driver's license. My girlfriend broke up with me,
money,
and didn't have a girlfriend. And I got a job working at a call center for UPS. And this call center was, man, it was probably 10 miles from where we lived. And I rode my bike up and down the equivalent of Highway 280.
Yeah.
And it was probably the equivalent of Greystone to the summit. So maybe not 10 miles, but still, it was not a short ride.
Right.
And I did that every day until I could save up. And I ended up getting a different girlfriend, and she had a car.
Right. That helps.
Kind of transitioned, but,
Sure.
you know, that was one of the many pivotal moments in my life that I look back and go, man, this was definitely key to where I'm at right now.
Yeah. That's good, man. That's so good.
It's good stuff, Leaman.
All right, Brett.
Yeah. So I have kind of two that come to mind, and they're it's moments of where you get down to a point where you just at rock bottom.
Yeah.
Right. And you can't see a way out of it. So the first one is,
So it's a forced pivotal moment.
it's kind of a self-induced.
Okay. Yeah.
And then a self-realization of kind of like you're in a place where you can't get any lower. You know,
sure.
that you gotta wake up or just go to bed, basically just give up. So the first one is, the first night I remember is it was Halloween night. I had been known to stay up for several days doing,
Binging.
Things I ought not be doing. So my lifestyle back then was, man, this Halloween's coming. Let's start the party Monday.
Let's turn it up. Yeah,
Monday,
let's get
and
it started.
It's for Friday, right?
Yeah.
So I'm preparing. And so I remember just like priming up for those 2 or 3 days before. You don't sleep, you stay up. I remember for Halloween night, Shirley was there that night. Actually, I remember it because we went downtown. Right, we're gonna go party. It's cold like it is now. I'm wearing tights, a cape, and with paint all over my chest. Right, and it's like 30-something degrees outside.
Like you're going to a football game, like a
Yeah.
Patriots football game or something.
I think I called myself Superfly.
Ooh.
I had a big glasses on and all this, and Shirley comes downtown, and I'm just blitzed out of my mind. I'm like, just hold everything I got. I don't have pockets.
How long ago was this?
This was, man, it's probably 2005.
Okay, so you guys were together at this point?
No,
you weren't. This is before you were together. Okay.
Yeah. She was married.
Okay.
So everybody was downtown with a group of friends. So at that point, it's probably midnight, and then everybody's kind of going home. Well, I'm still doing my thing, and I remember that night. I don't remember that night, but I remember waking up from that night. I had partied all night. I woke up at a place that was, I was at a gay bar. Don't know how I got there.
There you go. They're friendly guys.
Dude, just in tights, right?
Oh boy, that's
Woke
a
up
situation.
painted.
on a couch. It's blacked out in there. People are partying. I woke up about 8 in the morning, just in tights. And I look up and I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, what did I do? What happened? Was somebody, like, is my kidney still here?
Yeah, like the
I'm
movies,
like,
yeah.
And it's just like sheer embarrassment, right? So I don't have any money. I don't have a phone. I don't have any
Embarrassment of just like the blackout, like
just
like
the blackout where you're at, and you don't have any
you feel
clothes
humiliation
on.
just being like
Anybody.
everybody
to see
knows
me.
what's going on but you.
Yeah. And I wake up and people are laughing at you, and and I'm like, I'm just like begging people to take me home. I'm downtown and I got to get all the way to Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy finally gives me a ride in this old Cutlass Supreme, and it's like,
Did you have a shirt?
I didn't have a shirt. I still had paint all over me. Just tights, right?
It's doing it, man.
No shoes on.
You owned a pair of tights?
I don't know where the tights came from. I think it's my buddy that for some reason had some tights. So I remember going down 280, and it's like 10 in the morning, and just, that feeling of just shame and guilt, and you're riding home, and you're like, man, where is my life right now? Like so depressed. So he drops me off in these apartments up here for my buddy, and he's not home, so I have to go around the back, and people are watching you.
Oh yeah,
come
it's
in
10
from the
o'clock.
apartment complex.
They're walking dogs,
and they're like, you're looking at you, and you're like, man, if I could just dig a hole and bury myself, I'm done.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm so depressed. At that time, it was never any kind of, like I'm gonna take my life depressed, but it's like, man, this is so sad. Like
You're
you
almost
are-
looking at yourself from the outside.
Yeah, dude, why would anybody want to hang out with you, be with you? You, golly, get it together. So I ended up having to go in the back and climb through the window, and then I just passed out for however long it was till my buddies came home and woke me up. But that moment, I can remember driving down 280 past the summit and just thinking, dude, like, what are you going to do? So I quit drinking for a while. All started back. So several years down the road, I'm still doing dumb stuff, right? I quit for like probably 6 months, quit drinking. At this moment, I had moved to Atlanta. I had to get away from things.
Yeah, you were trying to escape
I was trying to escape
relationships, right?
My brother lived in Atlanta at one point. I had moved up there. He was about to get married. He moved on. So I stayed in Atlanta and worked, just trying to hide from everything around here. So I remember going out. I remember partying. I remember coming home. Guy comes home with me. We're doing things we're not supposed to do with, I don't know how specific I need to be.
Like drugs.
And,
okay.
And
this is a buddy of yours from the past time you
just met him that
Oh,
night.
this was in Atlanta. That's right.
Yeah,
okay,
man.
yeah.
You just you meet somebody. He's like, I got some drugs. I'm like, sweet, let's
Yeah.
go. So I remember putting up $575. That was my rent. And I remember hiding it under a magazine in my room, and I put it up. I'm like, because I will spend that, I'll blow that, and I won't be able to pay rent. So I remember come home, go out of the room. I do something, I definitely wasn't passing out. And I remember coming back in the room, the dude was gone. So I went up there to get I was like, oh my gosh. I went up there and he had stole that cash. And I was like, that's it, man. Like, at that moment, it was the one time in my life, I was like, I'm going to take my life. Like, I can't pay rent. I don't have any money.
I'm by myself.
I'm
in
by
a new
myself.
City. Yeah.
There's no one here to save me. I'm missing work all the time. My boss won't give me more money. He's probably ready to fire me. So I'm like, so I start just walking around Atlanta, and I just remember I was like, dude, I'm just ready to. I was like, there's train tracks here. I'm thinking through my mind, like, how can I just do this and just be done, right? I was like, it's just, you're pitiful, But for some reason, I just remember coming back home. I ended up just finally getting some sleep, and I ended up waking up that next morning and just feeling like, kind of like a weight was off my shoulders for some reason.
Just like the act of experiencing that and going through that night had helped.
Yeah. Cause
you got it off your chest.
That next time I could go to church, I went. I was like, there's something that.
Now, did you have a background in, were you, your family?
Occasionally.
Okay. Like, where was church for you? What was that?
It was, Mom would make me go.
Okay.
To church around here.
So you weren't new to church?
No, not new, but not. We didn't go a ton. We did all the Christmases, Easters. When I was probably a senior in high school, we went more than I ever had. But we were hit or miss a whole lot. But for some reason, that darkness that I felt, that pain I felt, it was like, it was almost like a relief. Like I'd seen it, didn't do it, so now I could move on. I don't know if that makes sense.
You,
It does.
yeah, it's like you felt like you realized you could overcome that feeling.
Yeah, yeah. But I
That makes
never-
sense to me. Yeah.
So, I went to it's an Andy Stanley church actually in Atlanta. I went and we would go. I would start going on Sundays, just start slowly going in. But those were 2 moments in my life that I remember of just being just kind of embarrassed, guilt, shame, fear, you know, and just such depression. That
Man, that's good.
so it's
Thanks for sharing that.
I love hearing from you guys. I
Absolutely.
feel like we don't talk enough.
right. Those types of things don't just come up in conversation.
Sure.
No,
You know,
they don't.
I've heard bits and pieces of both of those, but never.
Like the full, just flat
Yeah,
out story.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it needs to be told linearly like that because you can really express the emotions of the story when you are able to live the story out. When you're able to get through the story and
Yeah.
and remember it and talk about it in a this is how it 1 to 2 to 3, like this is how it went down. When you're just like, oh yeah, I was homeless one time.
Yeah.
That's like it's casual conversation. You're like,
Right.
oh wow, I didn't know he was homeless, but that's it.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
understand the emotion and the struggle in that situation. So I agree, it is good.
I think it means a lot to other people in this world too. If you can sit
Absolutely.
down and have that conversation, you probably
Agreed.
won't get that in depth, but to share, they're like, you went through that.
Yeah.
You know, like you had to step up and do this, or you struggle with that, or
Well, that's the
It
reason
means a
I'm
lot to
doing.
people.
I mean, I think that's the reason this podcast is. I think going to be so beneficial for who listens to it is because I think it's a good realization. Like, man, we all go through it.
sure.
All of us. All 3 of these stories we talked about today are raw life experiences that are difficult and that are very pivotal in how you become who you are.
Yeah.
And so I think it's awesome that we're able to sit down and just kind of talk about this stuff. So maybe we'll get to a lighter subject next week.
Yeah.
It's one thing to remember, men. It's okay to be vulnerable. you know?
Yeah, definitely. Just a
So,
little bit.
Yeah.
Not too much. Chris is a little too much vulnerable.
You know,
I think
somebody's-
Brett's pretty good. I think Chris maybe just. I'm just kidding.
You're good, man. I'm in touch with with everything I got going on.
The other day he was actually right over there on the floor getting his nails painted.
That's true.
Oh, that was.
Honestly.
I mean, you guys got girls, so
Yeah.
I gotta entertain where I can. So
I heard one time it said, "I don't care how tough you are. If a 3-year-old hands you a fake phone and says somebody's calling you, you answer that.
That's
phone."
right.
Answer that phone.
That was pretty
first time in 44 years I've ever bought toenail polish remover.
Right.
Did
That's
you-
kind of weird going through the
Right.
line.
good. Yeah.
That's why that's the self checkout helps with that though. So
Yeah, you're just embarrassed by yourself instead of in front of people.
the only time I'll ever use it.
That's when the machine messes up and somebody has to come over and help you.
Yeah,
Price check on nail polish remover. Price check.
88 cents.
One thing I want to tell people too, if they're listening, I hope someone's listening.
Oh yeah.
No matter how bad it gets, no matter how deep it is, how dark it is, that there's always a way out.
Always.
There's always an up.
Amen to
You know,
that.
there's always a way to find that hope, to find that joy. And
Yeah.
for me, it was Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And I know for y'all too. So
Yeah. And it's there. It's not like
yeah,
you don't have to decide whether it's there or not.
It's
you just
there.
have to find it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So never give up. Never give up.
Well, gentlemen, it's been fun as always. It was not 2 hours like it was last time.
Right.
We're officially, I think, 34 minutes in. Great talk as always. And,
Absolutely.
Thank you guys out there listening and watching. I appreciate you following along with us, and I look forward to next week. Hope you guys have a great week. And,
You too, brother.
We'll
Thank
see you
y'all so
guys
much.
next time.
Appreciate it.
Audio clap
I
out.
love it. Gotta have it out.
Let's line up this audio signal at the
That's
end of
right.
it.
It's gonna be my departing segment.
Like, Chris or Brett, I didn't see you clap today. Is everything okay?
Right.